In his past life, Luo Qingtian was both a licking dog and a PUA. Natural disasters are approaching, and zombies are rampant. Having experienced extreme heat and cold, earthquakes, blizzards, floods, insect infestation, human beings survive in the cracks. Luo Qingtian endured 10 years of hardship. Finally, he died under the conspiracy of scumbags and lowly women. Rebirth will last until 3 months before the end of the world. Luo Qingtian has started a daily hoarding routine. Accidentally. Luo Qingtian opened up the space in the jade plaque, activated the chip left by her parents, and obtained a special ability. Knowing that she was not abandoned, Luo Qingtian decided that she not only had to live well in this life, but also had to find her parents. Other people's abilities are all gold, wood, water, fire, and earth. Luo Qingtian is a hunter, with the tearing and falling of flying bears on the earth. When others worry about the next release time after releasing their skills, Luo Qingtian worries about how her abilities will be full again. Chapter 1. Rebirth before the end of the world. You are listening at novel full.audio. A loud bell rang, and Luo Qingtian suddenly opened her eyes. Familiar classrooms, familiar faces. What's going on? Why are you still alive? On July 2, 3050 in the Genji era, was he actually reborn. In the forest, she exhausted all her strength but did not break out of the encirclement. Terrifying mutated creatures and zombies surrounded her, and in the end, she was torn apart and devoured. At the moment of her death, she looked up at the high wall, where a couple of men and women were embracing and kissing each other. Is that dog man and woman celebrating their own death? The unforgettable pain instantly spread throughout Luo Qingtian's body, causing her body to tremble. That classmate, your face is not right, but what's wrong with you? A gentle male voice came from the podium, and Luo Qingtian finally came to his senses. He was in class. She looked in the direction of speaking. Han Shuo, this dog man who betrayed himself to his mortal enemies in the end of the world. After 10 years of companionship in the apocalypse, I ultimately died in that battle. Luo Qingtian looked at Han Shuo with an intimidating aura in his eyes. Han Shuo on the podium was startled by Luo Qingtian's gaze. Although I am Luo Qingtian's teacher, they are lovers outside of class. Although it was not publicly disclosed, Luo Qingtian treated him very well. Everything follows him. Just now, Luo Qingtian's gaze at him was so cold, even with a murderous intent. Classmate, if you're feeling unwell, you can. Before Han Shuo finished speaking, Luo Qingtian suddenly stood up and ran towards the door with big steps. Running out of the classroom, Luo Qingtian greedily took a deep breath. At this moment, the air was fresh, the sunlight in the sky was warm, and the people around him were also friendly. There are no zombies, no mutated beasts, and no mutated plants invading. Everything seems to be in a dream. But Luo Qingtian knew it wasn't a dream. I am truly reborn. Luo Qingtian left school and took a taxi straight to his own home. It is now July 2, 3050, and there are still 3 months before the end of the world. I must prepare everything within these 3 months. Since the heavens have given her another chance to be reborn, she must live well in this apocalypse. Half an hour later, Luo Qingtian finally returned home. She took out her room book and dialed a number with her phone. Hello, Manager Zhang, did you say last time that someone offered 30 million yuan to purchase my house? The intermediary manager was momentarily stunned when he received a call from Luo Qingtian, and immediately smiled and said. Yes, the buyer also said that if Miss Luo readily agrees, he can raise the price to 32 million. Okay, I agree, but I have a condition that it must be full payment and direct transfer. As long as the money is in hand, I can transfer it at any time. Upon hearing Luo Qingtian readily agree, the agent over there was both surprised and delighted. Okay, Miss Luo, I'll discuss with the buyer now. The intermediary manager hurriedly hung up the phone and went to discuss with the buyer. Luo Qingtian started taking out a pen and paper to write down what she needed to prepare. The house where Luo Qingtian is located is a 3-bedroom, 1-living-room apartment located in the city center, in Haisha. Most of the houses in the city center are priced but not in the market. It's not difficult to find a buyer with a higher price, but Luo Qingtian only has 3 months and she can't afford to delay. And in her past life, the place she lived in was the first to fall. A sour rain completely opened the prelude to the end of the world. After the acid rain, those who survived may have evolved abilities, while those who did not survive have become zombies. At that time, zombies were rampant. Animals and plants also underwent mutations. God seems to love all living beings except humans very much. At that time, even mice and cockroaches could kill people. So there is only one dead end to staying in this house. After making the phone call, Luo Qingtian started packing up. She remembers the outskirts of Xiqing district, which did not fall in the end, and ZF also established its first base there. So she plans to go there and find a better property to temporarily settle down. Luo Qingtian's parents went missing when she was very young, leaving behind only a considerable amount of wealth and monthly dividends and profits. And this house in the city center. Over the years, many people have come to buy this property from Luo Qingtian, but Luo Qingtian has never considered selling it. But now, the end is coming, so Luo Qingtian has decided to sell this place in exchange for some resources. In her memory, she always lived with her grandmother until she reached the limit of her physical condition in high school and passed away with her. Only herself was left. Grandma had said before her death that if she had to leave one day, there was a black jade plaque in the study that she must take away. That is their ancestral jade plaque from the Luo family. Luo Qingtian walked into the study and headed straight for the bookshelf. After fumbling on the bookshelf for a while, he touched a button. Luo Qingtian lightly pressed. A small dark grid immediately appeared on the bookshelf. Luo Qingtian will open the dark grid. A black and translucent jade plaque appeared in front of Luo Qingtian. Luo Qingtian looked at this jade plaque. Grandma's words echoed in her mind. Xiaoqinger, when you can't get through it, or when you encounter a big problem, just drop your blood on it, and you'll have to walk the rest of the way on your own. At the beginning of the past and the end of the world, she was lost in thought and brought Han Shuo over. While chatting, she accidentally told him about this jade plaque, but at that time she had no concept of her parents and felt that it was already the end of the world. Keeping this jade plaque was also a burden, so its ultimate destination was in Han Shuo's hands. At that time, Han Shuo hung the jade plaque on his chest every day, and she thought it was because Han Shuo was too concerned about himself. Now, thinking about it, it's clear that there is some secret on this jade plaque that I don't know. In this life, she will not be foolish anymore. She wants revenge for herself in her past life. I feel the pain of tearing myself apart when I think of being divided. Luo Qingtian's nails sank so fiercely into the flesh. Blood flowed out of her palm, and she quickly dripped her own blood onto the jade plaque. The moment blood dripped onto the jade plaque, it disappeared. The next moment, Luo Qingtian appeared in an open space. The open space is about the size of a football field, and there are also many packaged materials on the open space. Rice flour oil. It occupies half of the open space and looks very fresh. There are also many fresh green vegetables planted on the black and fertile land, and there is a wooden house in the center of the open space. Is this the secret of the jade plaque? Luo Qingtian thought and walked straight into the small wooden house, where there was a table. There were also small pieces of crystal fragments on the table, with a letter pressed under them. Luo Qingtian took away the jade plaque and opened the letter to read. A letter to Xiaoqinger. Chapter 2. Gifts from Parents. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Sonny, when you see this letter, it means you have activated the jade plaque. My parents are here to tell you something, and that is, the end is coming. And this space is the last guarantee that parents can leave for you, and the materials in this space are also prepared for you by parents in a tight time. The things are not complete, and the money we leave for you should be enough for you to purchase more things. Also, in order for you to have the ability to protect yourself, my parents have prepared other gifts for you to activate the chip. It will help to survive well in this apocalypse. My good daughter, become strong. Your mother and I will be waiting for you at the future base. The letter was very short, and after reading it, Luo Qingtian felt mixed feelings in his heart. After being an orphan for so long, I suddenly realized that I have parents, and I have an indescribable complex emotion in my heart. There is joy, sadness, resentment, and anticipation. Originally, I was not abandoned or an orphan. Also, did parents know about the end of the world early on? In her past life, she had never heard of a place called Future Base. Did you miss it yourself? Just thinking about it, Luo Qingtian noticed that the small piece of debris on the table was constantly flickering. Luo Qingtian reached out and touched the fragment. The fragment swooshed into Luo Qingtian's arm. The next moment, Luo Qingtian felt as if something had rushed in from his body. Immediately after, Luo Qingtian felt as if her body was full of strength, and she became very sensitive to her surroundings. She was certain that even if she didn't move, she could see everything around her. Ability awakening, Hunter. These words came to mind. Once again, it shocked Luo Qingtian immensely. Hunter. Is this a superpower? In the past, powerful aggressive attributes were all natural attributes, such as wind, rain, lightning, gold, wood, water, and fire. Lucky people will also awaken power, speed, and other abilities. Some abilities awakened by psychics are relatively useless. What kind of dust sweeper is like the existence of a vacuum cleaner? What kind of staring ability, seeing who is crying? And there is a more disgusting ability, which is thinking that whoever pulls their pants will have diarrhea on the spot. But what kind of ability is a hunter? Just as he was thinking about it, Luo Qingtian's mind came up with another explanation. Hunter's ability 1. Piercing the willow with 100 steps, able to shoot 3 arrows at once, attributes to be determined. Ability 2. Trap. Ability 3. Perception of spiritual power. Luo Qingtian excitedly emerged from the space. Although her abilities were not a natural attribute, she felt that her abilities were definitely not inferior. Does 100 steps pierce through a poplar tree? Luo Qingtian attempted to shoot an arrow towards the wall, and then 3 indistinct arrows instantly hit the wall. After a moment, the arrows disappeared, leaving 3 small holes on the wall. Luo Qingtian watched this scene in shock. She even ran to the wall and touched the 3 small holes on it. Is this the hunter's ability? Luo Qingtian looked at her hands with some disbelief. She was now very certain that her strength had increased. She also wants to continue researching her abilities. At this moment, the phone suddenly rings. Miss Luo, it's me. The buyer said he wants the house, 3200W, which will be credited to your account later. The buyer said they will give you 5 days to move after the transfer. Miss Luo, what do you think? Luo Qingtian didn't expect the buyer to give the news so quickly. Sure, we can agree on the transfer time once the money is received. Manager Zhang couldn't help but feel excited and said. Okay, can we make an appointment for tomorrow morning at 10 o'clock? Sure, Manager Zhang. Can you help me find a property in the outskirts of Xiqing district after I buy my house? I plan to rent it until I graduate from college. I'll pay the rent in 3 installments. The house should be a bit larger. Upon hearing Luo Qingtian's words, Manager Zhang immediately said. Sure, I happen to have a rented property over there, which is a 3-story small villa with a total area of over 300 square meters. In addition, there is a large courtyard, which is also 300 square meters. The rent is not high. If Miss Luo is interested, she can go and take a look. Okay, after the transfer is completed tomorrow, I'll go over and take a look. If there's no problem, I plan to make a reservation. After hanging up the phone, Luo Qingtian began to run quickly inside the house. Whether it was furniture or kitchen utensils, Luo Qingtian collected them into the space, and almost all the things in the study were also collected. In the end, only a bed remained in the room. And at this moment, a transfer message came from the phone. Did it arrive so quickly? It seems that the buyer is also very anxious. Luo Qingtian smiled and went out in a good mood to go to the night market. In the last 10 years of the apocalypse, she had not eaten anything decent for a long time. Arriving at the night market, Luo Qingtian casually found a large food stall and ordered a table full of dishes and dozens of grilled skewers to start eating in large gulps. It has been 10 years, and Luo Qingtian has not eaten normal food for 10 years. Just as she was feasting on it, a voice rang out not far from her. Hey, isn't it Sunny? Sunny, are you eating here? You ordered so much. As soon as he finished speaking, he saw a beautiful figure sitting in front of him. Luo Qingtian suppressed his impatience and frowned, looking across from him. Lu Shiqi, a good friend of her past life. On the surface, she is always good for herself, even Han Shuo is her matchmaker. But she never expected that after the end of the world, Lu Shiqi and Han Shuo would sleep on the same bed with their backs on their backs. Afterwards, both of them came to explain to themselves that it was unintentional, and later on, they kissed each other in front of each other when they died. Now, thinking about it, the two may have been together before the end of the world. Only I am still like a silly ex, being played around by them. Luo Qingtian looked up at Lu Shiqi across from him, and then at Han Shuo standing on the side. Swallow the hatred in your heart and slowly eat. Lu Shiqi seemed to have thought of something and sat down with Han Shuo on the side. Well, sunny day. Did you argue with Han Shuo? You ran away from class, and Han Shuo came to me right after class. I want to know your situation. At this moment, Han Shuo also looked carefully at Luo Qingtian and said. Sunny, is there any misunderstanding between us? Luo Qingtian frowned and looked at the two of them, saying. What misunderstanding? Was it a misunderstanding between the two of you going out on a date late at night, or was it that you already knew I was here? I don't remember telling anyone I wanted to come here. Even she herself came to this restaurant for a meal on the spur of the moment. These two people seem to be going on a date alone. Is it really like she's as foolish as before? Luo Qingtian looked up at the two with a sarcastic glance, picked up a skewer of grilled meat and started eating it as if no one was around. Chapter 3. Encountering a scumbag and a lowly woman again. You are listening at novel full.audio. Lu Shiqi awkwardly smiled and said. Sunny, what are you thinking? We're really here to find you. You've ordered so much and can't eat it, why don't we eat together? Lu Shiqi said as she reached out to grab the skewers on the table. Luo Qingtian grabbed Lu Shiqi's wrist and said coldly. If you want to eat, order it yourself. Why, you've become accustomed to taking advantage all day long. Do you really want to be a beggar? Get out of here and don't get in my way. Luo Qingtian's voice was not low, and everyone around him looked over. When I saw Lu Shiqi, my eyes were filled with contempt and ridicule. Lu Shiqi didn't expect Luo Qingtian to show her face in front of so many people, and she instantly became angry. What are you talking nonsense about, Luo Qingtian? If it weren't for Han Shuo begging me, do you think I would come to find you? Are you looking for me? Dressed up so flashy. It seems like you're all here for a date, right? You two are really my best friend and boyfriend. Don't disgust me, you two stay away from me. I think you're just going to lose your appetite. After finishing speaking, Luo Qingtian's body trembled uncontrollably, and she couldn't get along with these two people normally. Hate, it's too hateful. She's afraid that if we continue to get along like this, she won't be able to help but strangle the two directly. But now it is still the era of the rule of law. She must hold back the killing intent in her heart before the end of the world arrives. Lu Shiqi was so angry that her chest was heaving up and down. She pointed at Luo Qingtian, not knowing what to say, and turned her head to look at Han Shuo on the side. It's all you two argue and have a difficult time, why is it me who ended up unlucky? Lu Shiqi gave Han Shuo a glance and gestured for him to talk to Luo Qingtian. Han Shuo immediately understood and said. Sonny, what are you talking nonsense about? You suddenly left the classroom today, and I was worried that you just went to find Shiqi. Just before Han Shuo finished speaking, Luo Qingtian interrupted him directly. Worried about me but didn't give me a phone call and just went straight to my best friend. You're really smart. Han Shuo, I feel nauseous when I see you now. Don't bother me in the future. Otherwise, I don't know what I'll do to you. Luo Qingtian's gaze once again burst with strong hatred and killing intent, and Han Shuo was once again frightened by Luo Qingtian's gaze. His body involuntarily trembled twice. Forget what you want to say for a moment. At this moment, Luo Qingtian stood up. What a stomachache. Boss, pack up. The boss, who had been busy at the barbecue stall, heard Luo Qingtian's voice and quickly walked over. Little girl, I haven't eaten for long. Well, I won't eat it anymore. Let's pack it up. By the way, add an extra 50 skewers. The boss was energized when he heard Luo Qingtian say this and quickly packaged him. Luo Qingtian paid the money and turned around to leave, without giving a glance to Lu Shiqi and Han Shuo. She doesn't want to be involved with these two scumbags now. I remember when the apocalypse was just around, neither she nor Han Shuo had awakened their abilities. Even if Han Shuo took his jade card, he did not receive the apocalyptic game system. Later on, when I went to the base, someone approached me and said they would help me awaken my abilities. And he foolishly told Han Shuo about this matter, and Han Shuo said, as my woman, you should be protected by me. I'll leave the task of supernatural powers to you. I'll form another team then, and you just need to stay at home and enjoy yourself. When Han Shuo finished speaking, she only felt so happy and without hesitation, gave Han Shuo the opportunity. Later, the team was established, and Han Shuo became increasingly indifferent to her, even the people in the team looked at him with disdain. In order to match Han Shuo, she once again found the man who wanted to help her. I wanted him to help me once again to awaken my abilities, but the person said there was no way, there was only one chance. But it can help her train her body and skills. In the following days, she continued to learn various weapons and skills from that man. Later, she gained some self-protection abilities and began to go out on missions with Han Shuo. I just don't know if in this life, without myself and a jade plaque, Han Shuo would still live as carefree as in the previous life. Also, Lu Shiqi, didn't she finally awaken her healing ability? She just doesn't know if she will continue to be entangled with Han Shuo like in the previous life, facing him like a useless person. Luo Qingtian walked back in a good mood, and when she reached a place where no one was around, she put all the food she had packed into the space. Tomorrow we have to transfer ownership of the house, so she needs to rest quickly after eating and drinking. That night, Luo Qingtian slept very well. It's been an unknown amount of time since she slept so comfortably. If it weren't for a transfer appointment, she would like to sleep a little longer. Luo Qingtian woke up and put the last bed in the room, then went out to take a taxi towards the Housing Management Bureau. The transfer process went smoothly, and the buyer did not come in person, but instead entrusted a lawyer to come. After the processing was completed, Luo Qingtian went to the outskirts of Xiqing district in Haisher with the agent. Manager Zhang introduced a villa to Luo Qingtian, which was well decorated, packed in, and had a large courtyard. But Luo Qingtian thought that there would be a heavy rain in the months after the apocalypse, and at that time, all the villas would be submerged. In the end, Luo Qingtian did not rent them. She looked up at the tall building behind the villa area and asked, "Is there a place over there that can be rented?" Manager Zhang turned his head and said apologetically, "Miss Luo, that's Yuan community. The house over there is not rented and can only be bought. Moreover, if you want to go to the apartment over there, you also need to check your asset status. However, you just sold your house, and there is a 33-story rooftop villa over there that is vacant. It's over 300 square meters. It costs about 30 million yuan. When manager Zhang mentioned this, he wanted to introduce the villa behind him to Luo Qingtian again. Luo Qingtian pointed to the tall building and said, "Then let it be. Luo Qingtian is not poor. She has a bank card left by her grandmother, or more precisely, by her parents, except for daily needs. The extra grandmother never allows herself to touch it. It is said to be used when necessary. Now it's here, this so-called last resort is precisely the impending end of the world." Manager Zhang looked at Luo Qingtian in shock and said, "Miss Luo, are you really going to buy it? Well, come on, take me to take a look. I don't have much time." Manager Zhang was extremely excited when he heard Luo Qingtian say this. If Luo Qingtian had naively bought the top-floor villa, he would not have worried about his performance for the year. Manager Zhang quickly brought the key and took Luo Qingtian to the top floor. The 33-story villa is a duplex layout with 5 bedrooms and 3 living rooms. The kitchen is very large and can accommodate 3 large refrigerators with double doors. Chapter 4. Starting to stock up. You are listening at novel full.audio. There are 3 rooms on the second floor and 2 rooms on the first floor. The decoration is very good. The area of several bedrooms is also large enough. Luo Qingtian just took a quick glance and fell in love with it. Luo Qingtian immediately decided it was him, and when he came to the real estate company, he paid the full amount directly. Manager Zhang was excited to see Luo Qingtian making such a happy payment and gave away a sales prize gift box from the company. "Miss Luo, congratulations on becoming the owner of Yuan community. This commemorative coin is made of 24K pure gold, and these ornaments are also excellent Hotan jade. These are gifts from our company. Please accept them." Luo Qingtian's body trembled imperceptibly as he looked at the things handed over by Zhang Jingli. Of course, it was not that she deliberately wanted to tremble, but rather that the space inside her body was jumping with joy. She can clearly feel the desire of space for these things. "Thank you." Luo Qingtian gritted his teeth and endured the excitement in his heart. He picked up the gift box and nodded at manager Zhang before leaving. Not long after leaving, Luo Qingtian threw the gift box into the space. Luo Qingtian kept paying attention to the condition inside the gift box until she saw that the commemorative coins and a few jade ornaments in the gift box were gradually disappearing. Luo Qingtian almost jumped up. Is this space still eating jade and gold? Before Luo Qingtian could finish his shock, he watched as the space began to undergo earth-shattering changes. There is a large area of grassland on the originally bare flat ground. The original small wooden house has been transformed into a large bungalow, and the originally small farmland has instantly expanded by more than 10 acres. Along the way, the entire space has also expanded dozens of times compared to before. At first, Luo Qingtian was worried that he would buy too many things and fill the entire space, but now it seems that this concern does not exist at all. Luo Qingtian didn't care about his happiness and went straight to the 4S store to buy a car. That black card receives a large amount of money every month. She just checked it carefully and found that there are over 2 billion yuan in it. Seeing this number, Luo Qingtian was very shocked. At the 4S store, she specifically ordered 3 SUVs in different styles with large capacity and high chassis. I ordered another RV. After paying the deposit, she went to the second-hand market to buy a van and headed straight to the grain and oil market. When they arrived at the grain and oil market, it was already noon. Luo Qingtian thought of the food that had been placed in the space yesterday and directly took it out of the car. Luo Qingtian discovered that even after taking out last night's food, it was still hot. It seems that this space can really keep fresh. Luo Qingtian was overjoyed and quickly ate something to prepare for stocking. Although there are still many items left by parents in the space, no one knows how long the end of the world will last. The more resources there are, the better. And in the apocalypse, all the money is worthless, so she has to spend all her money in these 3 months. Driving to the grain and oil market, there are wholesale stores for rice, flour, and oil on 2 whole streets. After circling the market, Luo Qingtian finally walked into the largest storefront in the entire market. The owner of the shop was a bald middle-aged man. When he saw Luo Qingtian come in, he smiled and stood up. "Guest, what do you need to order?" Luo Qingtian pointed to the oil on the shelf and said. "Boss, I want to open a large warehouse-type supermarket and need to purchase goods. Please give me 100 tons of each type of oil you have here. This is a bag of 50 pounds of rice. There is also a bag of 20 pounds. Please give me 10,000 bags for each style. The same goes for flour. Please give me 10,000 bags for each type." After finishing speaking, Luo Qingtian pointed to the red beans, Job's tears, millet, black beans, soybeans, and various miscellaneous grains on the side. 3,000 pounds of each of these is good. Luo Qingtian ordered some more grain varieties as he spoke, until the boss listened and his mouth twitched. "Little girl, are you here to tease me? Even if you really want to open a supermarket, there's no need to enter so many, right?" Luo Qingtian took out his phone directly. "Speaking of the account, I will pay the deposit directly. It's urgent. If it's out of stock, I can look for other stores." Luo Qingtian spoke seriously, and the boss was instantly suppressed by Luo Qingtian's aura. It seemed that this little girl was not really here to cause trouble. He immediately nodded. "We have goods in stock, but you need more. We need to adjust the goods. Let's pay a deposit of 200,000 first. I will contact you again when the goods are all received." The boss is already overjoyed at this moment. It's a big deal. If this order is successful, you can rest and lie down this year. Luo Qingtian readily paid the money, exchanged contact information, and was ready to leave. At this moment, the boss quickly said, "Customer, since you run a warehouse supermarket, do you still need salt, spices, and kitchen oil, salt, soy sauce, vinegar, and tea? I can contact you here to receive them." Luo Qingtian's eyes lit up slightly, and she immediately stopped and said, "If the boss can help me contact good manufacturers, the merchants will naturally be good. However, my supermarket is still undergoing renovation and I don't know if there are any large warehouses here. I plan to rent for 3 months first." The boss immediately laughed upon hearing this. "Yes, there is. There is a specific warehouse in our market, and I will take you to take a look. If you rent it, then when my goods arrive, I can directly bring it to you." The current boss has completely mistaken Luo Qingtian for the god of wealth and politely led him straight to the warehouse. Helped Luo Qingtian find the warehouse administrator. Helped Luo Qingtian rent 3 large warehouses. When Luo Qingtian was paying, he specifically called his business partners. After Luo Qingtian received the warehouse keys, he was surrounded by a group of shop owners. All the owners of seafood, vegetables, spices, daily necessities, drinking water, pig farms, cattle farms, chicken farms, and sheep farms have come. Luo Qingtian was greatly shocked by the summoning power of this rice noodle oil boss. Then, in the anticipation of everyone, all the boss's goods were ordered in quantities of tens of tons. I exchanged contact information again and paid a deposit. Luo Qingtian left the grain and oil market and went straight to the largest Walmart supermarket in Haishur. Luo Qingtian directly contacted the manager of the supermarket warehouse and handed over his purchase list. And leaving his warehouse address and contact information, he went straight to the largest security company in Haishur. When Luo Qingtian arrived at the security company, it was already evening, just in time for the security company to finish work. Just when the general manager of the security company saw Luo Qingtian, he was immediately surprised and said, "Little sunny day. Why are you here? Uncle Qi. Why are you here?" At this moment, Luo Qingtian realized that the general manager was a former colleague of his parents. According to my grandmother, Uncle Qi also resigned after his parents went missing. In the days after resigning, Uncle Qi even helped their family search for their parents. Later on, it was just fruitless. Chapter 5. Building a Safe House. You are listening at Novel Full.Audio. At this moment, Qi Jian was not in a hurry to leave work. He opened the door to the office and walked in with Luo Qingtian. "Sonny, let's talk about it. Why did you come here?" Luo Qingtian's impression of Qi Jian is quite good, so he said. "Uncle Qi, I want to decorate a safe house with the highest level of safety." Qi Jian looked at Luo Qingtian with some shock. "Xiao Qingtian, to be honest with uncle, did something happen?" Qi Jian's first reaction was that Luo Qingtian had offended someone. Luo Qingtian shook his head. "I don't have many uncles. I've been feeling like someone's been following me lately, and I've also found out that my boyfriend is cheating. My second and third uncles both want to borrow money from me, and so many things make me very uneasy. That's why I wanted to come to the security company to build a safe house." Upon hearing Luo Qingtian's words, Qi Jian breathed a sigh of relief and handed him a tablet, saying, "Sure, that's okay. You can choose the materials yourself, and you can also mention the requirements. I will arrange for someone to go directly to reinforce the house for you. By the way, it's sunny. Do you still live in the same place as before?" Luo Qingtian shook his head. "No, I moved. I'll send the address to uncle later." Luo Qingtian lowered her head and looked at the materials on the tablet, choosing aerospace materials for all the options in the walls, ceilings, and floors. This material has a characteristic: although it is alloy, it has little weight and its strength is dozens of times that of ordinary houses. The selected glass is the same explosion-proof glass as the Tiangong.1 spacecraft. This type of glass is resistant to cold and heat, has good light, high strength, and is comparable to the existence of alloys. Of course, the price is also very expensive. As for the door, Luo Qingtian requested that all the doors upstairs and downstairs be replaced with thick anti-theft doors from the bank vault, and also requested that these anti-theft doors be embedded in the inner room and an additional layer of alloy doors be added to the outer door. There is a rooftop where Luo Qingtian lives. She asked the security company to add solar panels and water storage tanks on the rooftop, to prevent anyone from using the rooftop to sneak in. Luo Qingtian specifically requested to raise all the rooftops of his building, and cover the entire rooftop with alloy iron cages, and add a power grid. Also, a separate request is made to add 10 generators. What hydraulic power, household wind power, diesel, gasoline, and so on, each type is required. Luo Qingtian made a lot of demands, and Qi Jian felt numb all over while listening. "Sonny, are you sure you want to create it like this?" Luo Qingtian looked at Qi Jian puzzled. "Uncle, is there a problem? Or is my request a bit difficult?" Qi Jian looked at Luo Qingtian's serious expression and immediately swallowed the words of persuasion on his lips. "No problem, sunny day. Our company can indeed meet the requirements you mentioned, but the things you mentioned need to be at least over 100 million yuan, with a deposit of 20 million yuan. You need to pay first. Luo Qingtian nodded as expected. No problem, but uncle, how long will it take for the reinforcement of this house to be completed? If it takes a long time, I'm afraid we need to reduce some requirements. Qi Jian looked at the checkmark on the tablet and said. It'll take 2 months. We'll draft the contract first, and then you pay the deposit and we'll start working. After the completion, you inspect the goods, and if there's no problem, you can pay the final payment. Upon hearing this for 2 months, Luo Qingtian breathed a sigh of relief. That's good, let's install the solar panels, power grid, and alloy cage on stage that day after everything else is done. At that time, it happened to be the 3rd month, and when the apocalypse came, I'm afraid I don't need to pay the final payment myself anymore. Okay. Then I'll go and draft the contract now. Signed the contract and left the address. Luo Qingtian left immediately. When he returned home, it was already midnight. Luo Qingtian was very tired that day and took out some food bought outside from the space. He simply ate some and then went to sleep. I slept soundly until the next day when there was a knock at the door and Luo Qing woke up. Luo Qingtian didn't expect Qi Jian to find the construction team so quickly, and after buying this house, Luo Qingtian only put 1 bed, and didn't have time to put the rest of the things. After briefly stating her requirements to the renovation team, she hurriedly left. Luo Qingtian first went to the warehouse. The goods from Walmart have been waiting at the warehouse. When Luo arrived on a sunny day, he saw 4 17-meter-long heavy trucks waiting at the door of the warehouse. Luo Qingtian greeted the driver and then opened the warehouse door to start unloading. Fortunately, the warehouse is large enough. Until noon, the goods were finally unloaded. Luo Qingtian called the manager of Walmart after the inspection, and made an appointment to go there in the afternoon to finish the payment. It's just that Luo Qingtian requested to continue checking the inventory in the warehouse after paying the final payment. The manager over there only thought that Luo Qingtian still wanted to purchase goods, and without saying a word, he agreed. In the afternoon, Luo Qingtian started walking back and forth in the warehouse after the checkout was over. She quietly utilized her 3rd skill. Because the skill is only at level 1, Luo Qingtian can only take a rough look at the surrounding area of over 100 meters. In order to remember the terrain map and channels of the entire warehouse, Luo Qingtian walked through the warehouse for 3 hours. Another 3,000 bags of toilet paper, 3,000 bags of sanitary napkins, and 30,000 bags of toilet paper and wet wipes were ordered from other places. After receiving the order, the warehouse manager of Walmart couldn't keep his mouth shut. He agreed with Luo Qingtian about the delivery time and hurried to prepare the goods. The reason why Luo Qingtian came to the warehouse was because she had her own plans. After leaving Walmart, Luo Qingtian went straight to the bank and bought a lot of gold bars. 2 full boxes. At first, the bank manager was worried that Luo Qingtian wouldn't be able to take it and wanted to arrange for someone to escort him, but Luo Qingtian didn't agree. In shock, he picked up the golden path and directly got on the van to leave. Luo Qingtian found a deserted place. Throw the gold bar directly into the space. Luo Qingtian sat in the car and stared closely at the changes in the space. Not much, the gold bars began to be absorbed bit by bit, and the space began to become foggy. Half an hour later, Luo Qingtian felt her mind start to feel dizzy. Originally, she was still staring at the changes in the space, but at this moment her vision became blurred. I can't see the space even if I want to. Just as Luo Qingtian was shocked and nervous, the appearance of space reappeared in his mind. Nowadays, the space has completely changed, and the open land is covered with green grasslands. Another 100 acres of fertile land have been added. And one direction of space has become endless. On the other side of the space, several large mountains appeared in the distance. I don't know if it's an illusion, but Luo Qingtian can still vaguely feel the sound of flowing water on the mountain. And her original wooden house has become a 2-story small Western-style building. Seeing this change, Luo Qingtian's excited body began to tremble. Chapter 6. Full Inclusion Circle. You are listening at Novel Full.Audio. Originally, she entered the warehouse of Walmart to get an Yuan purchase on the day of the end. I can fill up the space then, but I didn't expect it to be really full. Now that he has learned that the space can be upgraded like this, Luo Qingtian has a new plan in an instant. She didn't rush home, but headed straight to the second-hand car market. She knew that the bosses there usually had connections to buy large quantities of gasoline and diesel. The owner of the second-hand car market initially did not acknowledge. I don't have it here, that's the gas station over there. How much do you need to go there and get it? Boss, I have a lot to ask for. I'll cover everything you have. The boss looked disdainfully at Luo Qingtian. Do you want to wrap the yuan? I have dozens of tons here, can you afford it? Really? So much? Luo Qingtian looked at the boss in shock. At first, the boss thought that Luo Qingtian was scared by the amount he had stored privately. Luo Qingtian took out his phone and said. I'll go see, there's really so much I'll pay today, said the sentence. The boss was dumbfounded this time, but he still took Luo Qingtian to the warehouse behind him. There are several 3000L plastic buckets in this warehouse, which are just stored there. Luo Qingtian once again activated the hunter's third skill and looked through all the oil barrels, confirming that they were gasoline and diesel. I happily transferred the account. Then he asked for the key to the warehouse and said he would come to pick up the goods tomorrow with a car. Until the boss left the warehouse and didn't react, these private goods were sold like this. But soon the boss thought of something. He turned his head to look at Luo Qingtian, who was still counting goods in the warehouse, and then thought about the key to the warehouse in his drawer. A cold smile appeared at the corner of the mouth. Since you can only come to pick up the goods tomorrow, it's not unreasonable for me to come over tonight to pick up some spare parts. The boss thought of this and immediately quickened his pace and ran towards his office. After the boss left, Luo Qingtian opened his third skill and looked around to make sure there were no people around. Luo Qingtian put all the oil barrels in front of him into the space. Clapping my hands, there was no dust on my face, and I left happily. It was already evening, and Luo Qingtian did not go home. After all, the security company is still reinforcing the house, and it's not convenient for her. Thinking of the impending apocalypse, Luo Qingtian no longer saved money and went directly to the largest hotel in Haishur. I booked the best and largest room, and also paid for the room for 2 months. Then I went to eat with satisfaction. The second floor of the hotel is Michelin 3-star restaurant. A meal costs at least around 3,500 yuan. After sitting down, Luo Qingtian didn't look at the price and ordered the most expensive dish before starting to eat. After a busy day, Luo Qing naively felt tired and hungry, and no matter how others looked at her, eating was indeed a bit wild. The waiter served several more dishes to Luo Qingtian in a row, and Luo Qingtian finally had enough to eat. After eating the last bite of foie gras, Luo Qingtian was ready to get up when he heard another very unwanted sound coming from the restaurant entrance. "Sonny, are you here?" Lu Shiqi waved in surprise at Luo Qingtian. Luo Qingtian frowned and looked in the direction of speaking, ignoring the need to get up and leave. Lu Shiqi was in a hurry to rush in. The waiter quickly blocked Lu Shiqi at this moment. "Miss, do you want to eat?" Lu Shiqi looked at Luo Qingtian's table and swallowed saliva. "My friend is there, we are together." At this moment, the waiter looked at Luo Qingtian with a hint of inquiry in his eyes. Luo Qingtian shook his head. "I don't know, call your manager over. I have something to do." Luo Qingtian almost went crazy when she heard Luo Qingtian's words. How could Luo Qingtian say that she didn't know her? Luo Qingtian started shouting at the door, but Luo Qingtian didn't even give her a glance. It wasn't until Luo Qingtian was pulled out by the security guard that a young man walked up to Luo Qingtian. "Miss, do you have any dissatisfaction with this meal?" Luo Qingtian picked up the ordering guidebook on the table and said. "I don't want this, and this either. I'll make 50 servings of the rest every day and deliver them to the presidential suite on the top floor for 2 months." The manager initially thought that Luo Qingtian was teasing him, until Luo Qingtian took out his black card. "I'll pay half of the money first. I'll pay the rest by the end of next month. Is there any problem?" The manager is still in the clouds at the moment. Stupid, he took the POS machine and swiped money, then stiffly exchanged contact information with Luo Qingtian. Until Luo leaves tomorrow, the manager still can't believe his ears. After finishing his meal, Luo Qingtian didn't go back to the top floor to rest, but went to the night market again. "I have ordered hundreds of things I like to eat, drink, and play, and provided my contact information and address. Only then did I walk back with satisfaction." Not far behind, Luo Qingtian followed closely behind until she saw Luo Qingtian wanting to return to the hotel. Finally, she couldn't help but rush towards Luo Qingtian. "Sonny, what's wrong with you? Is there a misunderstanding between us? I know you're still thinking about Han Shuo, but Han Shuo and I are really not what you think." "What do I want?" Luo Qingtian looked at Luo Qingtian with a smile on her face. In fact, she had already discovered Luo Qingtian's existence, but she wanted to see what Luo Qingtian wanted to do with her. "As usual, my presence in school was not high. Moreover, the people in the school all feel that they are poor students and followers of Luo Qingtian. But only Luo Qingtian knows that many of her expenses were bought by Luo Qingtian. Luo Qingtian also knew that she was not a poverty-stricken student. Even if she didn't use the money left by her parents, the wealth left by her grandmother was enough for her to live a prosperous life. Previously, Luo Qingtian often mentioned that she was an orphan daughter, and her parents were not by her side. She needed to keep her wealth confidential in order to be safe. So she lives very frugally in her daily life. And Luo Qingtian will use various excuses to make herself pay the bill. In contrast to Luo Qingtian, Luo Qingtian became the ugly duckling in front of the white swan. "Sunny day. Don't be angry, I know you like Han Shuo. Han Shuo and I are really innocent. And what about that? Is it related to me? I don't care if you're innocent or not, I just hope you don't bother me in the future. By the way, please repay the money I advanced to you within a week. I will send you the account statement later. If you don't repay it within a week, I will sue you directly." Luo Qingtian finished speaking. I walked directly past Luo Qingtian into the hotel. At this moment, Luo Qingtian was so angry that she couldn't speak. She looked fiercely at the direction where Luo Qingtian was leaving. She didn't expect Luo Qingtian to ask her for money. Should she still pay it off within a month? How dare an orphan girl shout at herself? "Luo Qingtian, wait for me. If you want to repay the money, dream." Luo Qingtian could naturally hear these words, and she squinted her eyes to suppress the hatred in her heart. Now is not the time, as long as it comes to the end of the world, she will bring back the pain they have inflicted on her in their past lives dozens of times. Chapter 7 has been tracked. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Luo Qingtian returned to the hotel and roughly sorted out all the things he had prepared in the past few days. I found that there were still some things I hadn't bought, so I set an alarm for myself and prepared to go to bed. The next morning, Luo Qingtian was awakened by the ringing of the phone. The people who are calling are the owners of grain and oil stores. "Miss Luo, our goods are all ready. When will you come to inspect them?" "So fast. Then I'll come later." On a sunny day, I forced myself to wake up and wash and tidy up. Go downstairs and drive your small van straight to the rice, flour, and oil market. Arriving at the market, the entire market's purchasing bosses were excitedly waiting outside the warehouse. Luo Qingtian quickly got off the car and greeted everyone. Everyone surrounded Luo Qingtian like stars and moons, telling him that his goods were not easily obtained. Luo Qingtian nodded and arranged for people to orderly put all the things into his warehouse. Until it couldn't be put in, Luo Qingtian discussed with the bosses and asked them to move the goods directly into his warehouse. He would arrange for someone to pick them up at night. Once the goods are almost accepted, the account will be settled. Many bosses have no doubt about Luo Qingtian, leaving their addresses and leaving. After these people left, Luo Qingtian entered the warehouse and put all the things into the space. Luo Qingtian spent 3 whole days. Collect all orders from the entire rice, flour, and oil market and settle the bill with ease. After a busy month, Luo Qingtian finally had almost everything he needed to prepare. In the remaining days, Luo Qingtian plans to order some things she likes to eat, play with, wear, and use. In addition, the 3 SUVs I ordered myself have also arrived. Some of the total items of 00 were almost prepared by Luo Qingtian, so he didn't run to the rice, flour, and oil market anymore, but switched to the antique market and gold shop. After several days of hoarding, Luo Qingtian clearly felt a state of saturation in the space. Originally, Luo Qingtian thought that the last upgrade had already eliminated obstacles in the space, but now it seems that this space still needs a lot of gold nourishment. Luo Qingtian originally intended to purchase gold bricks directly, but he had already bought a lot at the bank last time, so buying again would cause some unnecessary trouble. Luo Qingtian plans to take a second step and nourish the space with gold jewelry and jade from the antique market. When at the antique market, Luo Qingtian discovered that his space could recognize the authenticity of the jade in the market, and he had this ability. Luo Qingtian left the antique market with full harvest. Just as Luo Qingtian left, a pair of eyes behind her stared closely at her until she got into the van and left completely. "Big brother, is this the girl who ordered from you?" "I can't tell." Not long after Luo Qingtian left, 2 men walked out of the gate of the antique market. One of them is the owner of the second-hand car market, Sun Chang. Sun Chang glanced sideways at the man beside him and said, "Stop talking nonsense, let's go, follow up." Quickly, the 2 of them got into an SUV and chased after Luo Qingtian. After giving the key to Luo Qingtian, Sun Chang opened the warehouse with another key that night. He thought to himself that even if Luo Qingtian was too powerful, he wouldn't be able to do anything to Luo Qingtian, as he had asked for so much goods. But when he brought people into the warehouse, he was dumbfounded. The entire warehouse is completely empty, not to mention gasoline, not even a gasoline tank can be seen. At first, he thought Luo Qingtian couldn't trust him, so he sent someone over early in the morning. But after looking at the surveillance footage, he found that there were only images of Luo Qingtian leaving. "I didn't even notice any cars coming to transport it. But that warehouse full of gasoline just disappeared. I feel suspicious no matter how I think about it." Because Luo Qingtian had bought a car before, he quickly found out his identity and address. What he didn't expect was that when he found Luo Qingtian's address, he actually moved. Until today, when he was picking up leaks at the antique market, he finally saw Luo Qingtian. Luo Qingtian was in a good mood because he had bought a lot of good things, so he didn't notice the little tail growing behind him. Returning to the hotel, Luo Qingtian eagerly returned to his room and locked the door. She put all the jade and stone accessories she bought into the space in one go. At the next moment, a wave of dizziness came to Luo Qingtian's mind, and he endured the discomfort and focused all his attention on the space. The space has undergone earth-shattering changes once again, absorbing all the jade and gold goods. Originally, there was only one direction in the space where the boundary could not be seen. The remaining directions can still clearly feel constrained by something. And this change has made the other side of the space endless. A small river appeared between the two additional mountains not far away. The river is clear and bottomless. Seeing this scene, Luo Qingtian was extremely excited. This time she hoarded a lot of mineral water. In the afternoon, she was still thinking about whether to go hoard some more. Now that this river is here, even if one day I run out of water, I don't have to worry about not having water to drink. Luo Qingtian originally wanted to stay in the space for a while longer, but a commotion suddenly came from the door of the room. Luo Qingtian's alarm bell masterpiece quickly activated the hunter's third skill, perception, as he left the space. At the entrance, Sun Chang and his accomplices have been walking around the entrance, and there is only one room on the top floor. He doesn't believe that Luo Qingtian lives in such a place. The top floor of this hotel is famous for its high cost, which can cover half a year's salary for an ordinary person in one night. This Luo Qingtian is an orphan girl and shouldn't have so much money, but when he was getting on the elevator, he paid special attention to Luo Qingtian's floor. It is indeed the top level. After much thought, Sun Chang lingered at the door. Sun Chang's movements had already been clearly observed by Luo Qingtian inside the room. She didn't expect to be targeted by Sun Chang. She didn't know how much Sun Chang knew about what he had done, so at this point, she had already developed a murderous heart toward Sun Chang. After calculating the time, there is still more than a month until the end of the world. I cannot take action yet, but I absolutely cannot let such a hidden danger follow me. Luo Qingtian immediately called the front desk and told them that someone was sneaking around the door, asking them to quickly arrange for someone to come over. Luo Qingtian made an appointment with the hotel for 2 months, which belongs to the VVIP of the hotel. It wasn't long after receiving a call from Luo Qingtian. The security personnel of the hotel arrived at the top floor, and before Sun Chang could say anything, the two were taken away by the security personnel. After being taken away, the hotel manager specifically knocked on the door of Luo Qingtian's room. "Miss Luo, I'm sorry, it was our hotel's improper management that surprised you." The hotel manager looked at Luo Qingtian with fear, fearing that if Luo Qingtian was unhappy, he would check out. Chapter 8. The end of the world is coming soon. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Luo Qingtian waved his hand indifferently. "It's okay, but you still need to be careful yourself. I don't want such a thing to happen again." The hotel manager breathed a sigh of relief and nodded to Luo Qingtian, promising that it would never happen again. Luo Qingtian then nodded. "Well, it's too late, I have to go to bed." After finishing speaking, Luo Qingtian closed the door under the respectful gaze of the hotel manager. Outside the room, the manager breathed a heavy sigh of relief and hurriedly went downstairs to deal with Sun Chang's matter. After confirming the departure of the hotel manager, Luo Qingtian quietly opened the room door and made sure to avoid the camera before heading straight to the stairs of the restaurant. Since awakening the hunter skill, Luo Qingtian's body has been gradually strengthening every day. Even the field of vision has become incredibly clear compared to before. She quickly rushed towards the stairs, all the way to the back door of the restaurant, avoiding the camera and finding a corner to wait quietly. Half an hour later, Sun Chang left the hotel with his other companions cursing, but was personally escorted out by several security personnel. The two got into the car and looked fiercely at the hotel security guard who had escorted them out from behind. Angered, he got into the car. It's impossible to find Luo Qingtian today, but as long as Luo Qingtian still lives in this restaurant, he will always find it. The car quickly drove onto the road, and Luo Qingtian in front of the window squinted at the direction of the car's movement until it began to accelerate completely. Luo Qingtian fiercely threw the hunter's first skill at the car. 3 arrows fired at once. 3 indistinct arrows headed straight towards Sun Chang. Sun Chang's car has just started to accelerate. I suddenly felt the rear wheels of the car start to drift. Sun Chang's conditioned reflex is to start pressing the brake and want to stop. And at this moment, a truck from the opposite side drove over. Boom! Sun Chang's car collided with the truck across from him like this. At the moment when two cars collided, Luo Qingtian aimed his arrow at Sun Chang's head again. The arrow pierced through the airbag of Sun Chang's car and directly hit his temple. Luo Qingtian did not go to see Sun Chang's final life or death, but turned around and entered the restaurant, rushing straight to the roof through the stairs. What was the final outcome of Sun Chang? Luo Qingtian didn't care at all because no matter what the outcome was, Luo Qingtian was certain that he wouldn't find himself in the future trouble. By using this skill, Luo Qingtian discovered that his skill had significant drawbacks in range, and after thinking about it, it was still due to the lack of weapons. After resting overnight, Luo Qingtian went to the sports arena the next day to customize many bows and arrows. Because there was live water in the space, Luo Qingtian ordered some live pigs, cows, sheep, chickens, ducks, geese, and rabbits. She also created a separate area in the space specifically for raising a lot of live fish and seafood. Time passed like this, and Luo Qingtian's house was also decorated. In the third month, Luo Qingtian finally moved into his own house. The room is well decorated, with separate power systems for both underfloor heating and air conditioning. Both inside and outside the room, even the entire building has been equipped with surveillance cameras. Convenient for Luo Qingtian to observe the outside conditions. Qi Jian didn't rush to ask Luo Qingtian to pay the final payment, but instead asked him to stay for a period of time before proceeding. Of course, Luo Qingtian is also so happy. There are still a few days until the end of the world. Luo Qingtian didn't go out again, and these days, Han Shua and Lu Shiqi also approached her several times. Trying to explain to her, Luo Qingtian didn't respond. It's already September. But the temperature of the weather has remained around 40 degrees, and my phone can receive a high temperature warning every day. The community began to wail and complain about the weather in the community. Luo Qingtian silently looked at the roast of the people in the community, but smiled non-committally. Because she knew it was a sign that the end of the world was about to begin. She locked herself in the house and started exercising every day. Every time I exercise to the extreme, I only stop when I exceed my limits and my body can't bear it. She has her own set of exercise methods, which was taught to her by the person who taught her skills at the base in her previous life. A few more days passed like this. Until this morning. The originally hot weather suddenly became cooler. Along the way, the whole world was shrouded in a white mist. The damp mist in the white mist stained the bodies of those who were in a hurry to leave, making them sticky. The community group is starting to explode again. Oh my God, what kind of bad weather. Walking on the road with such thick fog, I can't even see a person's shadow clearly. Yeah. I don't know how many car accidents have happened along the way, they've made me afraid to go out now. Me too. I originally planned to send my child to school, but the fog was too heavy and there was an unpleasant smell. I always felt something was wrong, so I took a leave of absence directly from the teacher's side. The people in the group were chattering incessantly, while Luo Qingtian was now ready to go out. After this heavy fog, acid rain arrived, causing 70% of the world's creatures to undergo a transformation. And this acid rain completely opened the prelude to the end of the world. Luo Qingtian stood quietly in front of the window, gazing at the vast white world. An hour later, the white mist gradually dissipated, followed by pouring rain. The whole world has fallen into a rain curtain. Luo Qingtian put on his raincoat, put on his helmet, and walked out of the house. Luo Qingtian took out his SUV and activated the hunter's third skill. Driving in the heavy rain like this. Go straight to Walmart, the largest local supermarket. Because of fog and rain, there are not many people in Walmart. When Luo Qingtian arrived at the supermarket, he didn't rush in and just sat quietly in the car waiting. The heavy rain is getting heavier and heavier. Some of the people who were caught in the rain have already begun to notice that something is wrong with the heavy rain. Anyone who gets caught in the rain starts to feel dizzy and feverish to varying degrees. Some people lose consciousness and faint directly after being caught in the rain. What's going on with this rainwater? It's sour and smelly. It's really uncomfortable to get it on my body. Yeah. I just saw someone get drenched in the rain and fainted, isn't it toxic? In the parking lot, two men hurriedly walked towards the parking lot with umbrellas. Stop in front of the car next to Luo Qingtian. One of them took out the car key and opened the door, sitting straight into the driver's cab, while the other man stood quietly at the front passenger door. The driver's man frowned as he looked at his companion who had no intention of getting on the car and asked. "Get in the car, what are you fooling about?" After saying these words, the man's companion suddenly lifted his head and looked at him quietly. Luo Qingtian turned his head to look at the man in a daze. After noticing that the man's pupils gradually turned grayish-white, Luo Qingtian's eyes stiffened. Is this about mutation? Luo Qingtian is too familiar with this scene. This is a precursor to zombieization. Most of those who were exposed to acid rain in their past lives began to undergo changes in their eyes. Chapter 9. Starting Zero Yuan Purchase. You are listening at Novel Full.Audio. Luo Qingtian lowered his car window and said to the man. Let's go. The man in the driver's seat turned his head and ignored Luo Qingtian's words, preparing to get up and grab his companion. Just as he approached his companion, he suddenly jumped up and hugged him, starting to bite his neck. Come on, help me. Immediately after, a piercing scream sounded, and the man struggled while waving to Luo Qingtian, hoping that Luo Qingtian could come over and help him. Luo Qingtian sighed and slowly raised the car window, completely isolating the screams from outside. At this moment, chaos began to rise near the parking lot, and the man who was bitten quickly underwent a transformation. Two completely zombie-like men began to rush towards the other running humans in the parking lot like crazy. Upon seeing this scene, Luo Qingtian put on his helmet again. She quietly opened the car door and walked out. She ran all the way to the inside of Walmart supermarket. At this moment, the supermarket was also in chaos, with staff, supermarket staff, and a small number of customers rushing towards the outside. Luo Qingtian walked straight in facing the crowd and turned in when he reached the vicinity of the stairs. Her goal is the large row of warehouses behind Walmart. These rows of warehouses add up to millions of square meters and belong to the total warehouse in East China. Last time Luo Qingtian came here to pick up the goods, he paid special attention to the nearby area. Through the stairs, Luo Qingtian searched for memories and found the location of the warehouse. The door of the warehouse is tightly locked with a double-dot layer clamp door. You need to swipe your ID card to enter. Luo Qingtian stopped at the door and looked around. Suddenly, the alarm rang in Luo Qingtian's mind, and then he leaned forward slightly to avoid the sudden attack that appeared behind him. The unique voice of zombies sounded in Luo Qingtian's ears, and a zombie dressed in Walmart warehouse supermarket clothing rushed toward Luo Qingtian. A tang sword suddenly appeared in Luo Qingtian's hand, and as the zombie rushed over, it aimed directly at the zombie's neck and chopped it down. The next moment, the zombie's head rolled to the ground, and its body fell heavily to the ground not far from Luo Qingtian. Luo Qingtian quickly stepped forward and searched the zombie for a while. Sure enough, there was an access card in the zombie's pocket. Luo Qingtian picked up the access card and inserted it into the card slot in the warehouse. The door opened and Luo Qingtian rushed directly into the warehouse. The warehouse is dazzling with everything that can be bought here. Even bicycles, tricycles, yachts, submarines, and motorcycles are available. In order to save time, Luo Qingtian activated the hunter's third skill and took a rough look at the nearby situation. After confirming that there were no zombies nearby, he quickly shuttled through the warehouse. Occasionally, when collecting, a few zombies slowly walked by, and because there weren't many, Luo Qingtian would swing his sword and chop them down. Half an hour later, the entire warehouse, along with the shelves, was taken into the space by Luo Qingtian. Luo Qingtian didn't pause and quickly left after collecting things. When I returned to Walmart again, the whole supermarket was quiet and strange. Occasionally, Dunca's footsteps can be heard walking by, and the ground of the supermarket is covered in blood stains and broken limbs. And in the supermarket, there are no longer living people walking normally, while those walking around are all those zombies that have already mutated. The sound of Kaka's footsteps was made by those completely dehumanized zombies. The movements of these zombies are very slow, with a few zombies moving slightly faster, seemingly searching for suitable prey. Luo Qingtian moved step by step against the wall towards the outside of the main door. Occasionally, two zombies turned around, and Luo Qingtian hid in a corner that could cover himself. As they moved to the corner, a few zombies slowly walked towards Luo Qingtian on the other side. Luo Qingtian wanted to go back, but there were also several zombies walking towards her from behind. Luo Qingtian frowned. If possible, she really didn't want to face the zombies so quickly. She had more to do, but at this moment, Luo Qingtian had nowhere to hide. Suddenly, a bow appeared in her hand and aimed at the zombie behind her, shooting 3 arrows. Then Tang Dao appeared again in his hand. At the moment when the zombie turned its head around the corner, Luo Qingtian quickly rushed over, aimed at the zombie's head, and directly chopped it off. Due to the loud noise, the surrounding zombies ran towards the sound. Luo Qingtian rushed towards the entrance while killing zombies, passing by the supermarket's collection box. Luo Qingtian's third skill discovered that there were already many zombies rushing towards her near the entrance. Luo Qingtian clenched the tang knife in his hand, thinking whether to hide in the space first. Suddenly, the storage box moved, and then he saw a face exposed behind a pile of boxes. "Hey, come here quickly." Luo Qingtian turned his head to look and found a man hiding behind a row of storage cabinets. Without thinking, Luo Qingtian took 3 steps and took 2, then flipped over and jumped in. And the man who spoke quickly moved the outer storage box as Luo Qingtian jumped in, completely blocking the 2 inside. At this moment, Luo Qingtian took off his helmet and watched the man say with his mouth, "Thank you." The man nodded at Luo Qingtian without saying anything, but nervously looking out through the cracks. Luo Qingtian took out his phone and set it to silent before starting typing. "These zombies have no vision, I have a way to lure them into the supermarket. We can take the opportunity to run to the parking lot." The man was surprised to see this sentence and blinked at Luo Qingtian, saying 3 words with his mouth. "How to do it?" Luo Qingtian reached out and took out his backpack behind him, then took out a can of beer from inside. The man instantly understood Luo Qingtian's intention. He pointed up and then pointed to the gap that had moved slightly in front of him. Luo Qingtian nodded slightly and stuffed the tang sword into the man's hand. The man extended 3 fingers. 3, 2, 1. Luo Qingtian quickly threw the canned beer in his hand towards the supermarket. Bang dang. The beer fell and deformed, making a loud sound. The surrounding zombies quickly rushed towards the direction of the sound upon hearing it. And the man waited for a minute, making sure that all the zombies around him ran away. He carefully moved the storage box in front of him, and the 2 of them rushed out. At this point, the acid rain outside had completely stopped, and there were not many zombies in the parking lot. As the 2 of them rushed out, those zombies rushed towards them in unison. The man waved his tang sword desperately in his hand. And his trembling hands made Luo Qingtian clearly know how panicked the man was at this moment. Chapter 10. Doc Encounter. You are listening at Novel Full.Audio. Don't be nervous, the early zombies are not strong, their weakness is their heads. As long as you chop their heads, you can directly kill the zombies. Luo Qingtian comforted in a low voice, and the man did not turn back. He stared at the zombies rushing forward and nodded incessantly. Luo Qingtian sighed and a bow appeared in her hand, aiming at several zombies ahead. Whoosh, whoosh. The sound of arrows piercing through the air sounded in the man's ear, and then he saw 3 long arrows shooting deep into the zombie's head. The man in front froze in an instant, looking stiffly behind him. At this moment, Luo Qingtian's movements did not stop at all. She drew 3 arrows from behind and shot them again. 4 or 5 more zombies were shot through by Luo Qingtian. The man was completely shocked by Luo Qingtian at this moment and couldn't speak. He looked at Luo Qingtian with excitement on his face. Arrows never fail to shoot, 100 steps pierce through the willows. Especially the archery movements are both bold and handsome. I didn't expect that in this era, he could still see the shadow of a battlefield female general on a girl. What are you still staring at? Hurry up and find your own car. Luo Qingtian's expression is serious. Speaking, he drew out 3 long arrows again and aimed at the remaining rushing zombies. Whoosh whoosh. The long arrow flew out and several zombies around it were all knocked down by Luo Qingtian. At this moment, the man had found his car and drove it to Luo Qingtian's front. Let's go, I'll take you away. You go on your own, I have my own car, be careful on the way. At this point, the zombies in the supermarket had already rushed out. Luo Qingtian took out 3 arrows again and aimed them at the zombies, shooting them over. Just this time, when the 3 arrows were fired, they directly knocked down 7 or 8 zombies. Almost every arrow pierced through several zombies in a row. Immediately after, a voice rang out in Luo Qingtian's mind. Hunter skill upgrade. 3 arrows fired at the same time, level 2. The range has increased by 100 meters. The total range is 800 meters. Trap level 1. Spiritual perception level 1. Luo Qingtian was shocked, can killing zombies still upgrade? At this moment, the voice of the man from behind Luo Qingtian rang out. Okay, then I'm leaving. My name is He Xiao. Remember me. I will definitely repay you when we have the chance to meet in the future. He Xiao said and drove away directly. Watching He Xiao leave, Luo Qingtian set 3 traps in a row near the supermarket gate. The zombies who came out of the gate stepped on the trap for a moment's pause. Luo Qingtian took the opportunity to find his own car and quickly left. Luo Qingtian drove straight towards the seaside port instead of going back. There is a pharmaceutical company at the port, and she wants to take advantage of this time to collect all the medicine there and also collect a few empty ships. At this time, zombies biting people were everywhere on the road. Along the way, Luo Qingtian ran, and many zombies followed behind his car. Meanwhile, Luo Qingtian accelerated his speed and collided wildly, flying many zombies along the way. When passing by the scene of the car accident, Luo Qingtian simply drove straight into the green belt and walked around. So, less than an hour later, Luo Qingtian finally arrived at the dock. Originally, Luo Qingtian was prepared for a fierce battle with the zombies on the dock, but she only realized it when she approached. There are not as many zombies on this side of the dock as I thought. Luo Qingtian stopped the car and collected it into the space. He used a rubber band to wrap up his hair, took out his hat and mask, and put them back on. Then he climbed up to the nearby roof. There are many ships parked near the dock, and there are also many containers nearby. Luo Qingtian didn't rush to the container, she ran lightly on the roof. Then he found a suitable spot and took out his bow and arrow again to aim at the zombies walking back and forth on the dock. Whoosh whoosh. A long arrow pierces through the air. Arrow kept toppling the nearby zombies, and in a while, Luo Qingtian cleared most of the surrounding zombies. Luo Qingtian took the opportunity to head straight for the container, and regardless of what was inside, she collected the entire huge container at the dock into space. Luo Qingtian ran to the beach, found several boats that were confirmed to be empty, and directly put them into the space. He turned around and headed straight for the rows of warehouses by the seaside. This row of warehouses is the main purpose of Luo Qingtian at this time. In Haishur, the largest pharmaceutical company's drug inventory is located in rows of warehouses. Luo Qingtian climbed onto the roof again, completely unleashing his third skill. If there was anything in the warehouse, Luo Qingtian would jump over lightly and then break through the door to collect it. This row of warehouses stores everything from seafood to bedding, to clothes and shoes from all seasons. Luo Qingtian has forgotten how much he has collected. Until the last long row of warehouses, Luo Qingtian finally found the medicine he was looking for, and some warehouses were still filled with some precision medical instruments. Luo Qingtian, like before, didn't look at what medicine or equipment he received. All of it was collected into the space. Finally arriving at the last warehouse, Luo Qingtian held a hammer in his hand and planned to directly break open the door of the last warehouse. But when her hand touched the warehouse door, she found that it was not locked, and Luo Qingtian clearly felt that there was someone behind the door. And there's more than one. Luo Qingtian slowly withdrew his hand and then moved step by step towards the back. In the pharmacy, Emperor Jiang stood in front of the door with squinted eyes. He noticed someone slowly approaching outside early in the morning, and he was the youngest general in China. I came here to collect a potion after taking on a special mission this time. I just didn't expect a strange rain to start shortly after arriving here. After the heavy rain, some people underwent a transformation in front of him, becoming ignorant zombies. He and his several subordinates hid here after killing some of the zombies. And there seems to be a problem with the troops, they have been unable to contact, even their superiors have lost contact. Just when he was at a loss, he found that the number of zombies near the dock was decreasing. Until he saw the sharp arrows flying out and the black figure. Emperor Jiang doesn't know whether the people coming are enemies or friends. I can only hide behind the door of the room with my comrades in arms. In the warehouse, everyone was nervously looking towards the direction of the door. When Luo Qingtian found this place, everyone lifted their weapons in their hands. Luo Qingtian's third skill was activated, and she could clearly see the person behind the door holding a weapon waiting for her to open the door. After taking a few steps back, Luo Qingtian turned around and was about to run when suddenly the door behind him opened. Emperor Jiang rushed out with his people. Stop! Emperor Jiang's voice was extremely gloomy. Although he didn't know who this person was, in Emperor Jiang's perception, it was best to catch this person well.